Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives. Hey everybody, this is Wileen Benson, and this is our Daily Gratitude Call. I want to thank everybody for being on the call. We have somebody on today who hasn't been on for a little while, so I had a chance to just talk to her a little bit about the difference between being on live and being on listening again on the podcast, as it's posted later. And she said, the podcast and recording is great, but there's just nothing like being on live. And I agree. I just feel like taking the time to get on here, even if you only do it once, so that you can have that experience of just having that live experience, being able to share your own thoughts and having your thoughts be added to by other people. It just is really a powerful connection that we have here. So if you haven't joined live, I encourage you to do that at least once so you can test that out. You can just go to my website, WileenBenson.com, and find out all about how to join the podcast live. So today I have just over the last couple of days have had a fun opportunity to reflect and change my perspective on something specific. And a couple of things were mentioned as before we started the recording about open spaces and new spaces, being in new spaces. And it kind of took me to this reflection that I've had over the last couple of days. So I wanted to share that, and then we're going to focus our gratitude today on gratitude for spaces. So I'm going to write that down so I don't forget that's what I said. Actually, space is what we were going to do, just space. The experience that I've had over the past few days, I live in a rural community in Utah, and we've lived in the same house for almost 33 years, I think. My husband and I bought this about 2 weeks before we got married, and we've just stayed here. It's been beautiful, and the house is big enough that we've been able to grow into it with our 3 kids that came along during our marriage, and now they're starting to leave the nest, and we're going to be doing some remodeling and in the near future, hopefully within the next year, to change the floor plan a little bit to match, to fit our new family that is starting. So in this rural community, though, we've got these beautiful mountain views, and I look out my front, and for years, up until probably about 5 years ago, it was completely open, and they had horses and sheep, and they'd grow hay across the street, in the field across the street, and there's a ditch, that has running water in it, and it just was beautiful. And then out the back, I have this beautiful mountain view, another different mountain, and we have this super peaceful backyard. A lot of you on this live call have been here to my home for some workshops and retreats that we've done here. And so you know what I'm talking about. It's just like this piece of heaven, lots of trees, and it's shady. There's tons of birds and animals and, wild animals. We have some quail and deer and all kinds of really fun things that come into our backyard. And it's just been this peaceful, beautiful place, for a space for us to be. And I remember when we bought the house, I said, this is so awesome. I said, we can live here as long as they don't build across the street from us. And so far they haven't. We still don't have anybody directly across the street from us. They did put a church in that is kind of kitty corner to the left, and now we have this huge neighborhood that's going in kitty corner to the right. But still straight across the street is empty, so we get to still live here. But we just got notice in the mail that about 3 days ago that they're going to be putting a neighborhood in the back. They're adding 8 homes behind us, and not directly behind us. We have a field that will still be between us and this new neighborhood, but it will break up our view a little bit of the mountain. And anyway, it was a little bit disturbing when we got that notification. So can't blame anybody for wanting to live here because it's beautiful and we love it. And I'm sure, the other people want to experience that too, so I can't blame people for wanting that, but it does feel like it's encroaching on my space a little bit. So that's kind of what I've been going through, and I've been able to change my perspective a little bit because of the people that have been moving in, our new neighbors, and they come to church with us, and we're going to do a cookie exchange on Friday with some new neighbors that we haven't gotten to know very well. And anyway, it's just been really, really fun to connect with these people. So I just wanted to share that new perspective. Sometimes, we do feel like our space is being encroached on or things are changing. Our comfort zone is shrinking or expanding, and maybe it's not such a good thing. But we can look at things from a new perspective, and there's always a different way to look at things. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a personal share, I guess, before we start our meditation. So I've got the timer set for 90 seconds, and we're going to focus silently on this gratitude for space. You know what? Let's leave it spaces. I said that first, and I think that feels right. So we're going to do gratitude for spaces, and I'll set the timer for 90 seconds. Just write down whatever comes to you and begin. I basically kind of adding to what I already said, I just got another new perspective. I was in Scotland in August and stayed in a castle there, and it was in this beautiful countryside. Every place, every direction that you looked, it was just like miles and miles of rolling hills and green and sheep, and it was just beautiful, beautiful. We went, my friend and I went across the street and hiked. They have a thing called walkabout there, where you are free to walk about anywhere, even on other people's land, and the only rule is that if you open a gate and go through it, then you have to shut the gate. If you open a gate, you have to shut it. So that's really the only rule. And so it was really cool for us to be able to just walk wherever we wanted to. And we walked up this little hill, went through a gate, shut the gate, and kept going. And we were able to look down on the castle that we were staying in and across this miles and miles of, open, beautiful land. And I did notice when I was up there that there were houses dotted here and there, and the owners of the homes had taken the time and the effort and put the investment into creating these beautiful gardens, and the homes were really well kept. Some of them were made out of stone, others of them were just, like siding or whatever, but they all were painted or, just well cared for. And that's kind of what I got today, is that, maybe not to worry so much about what other people are doing outside of my own property, but to put a little bit more focus on my own property to create more beauty and flowing, abundance within my own property and within my own home. That's something that I can control, and not only is it going to help to produce a better view for me, but it also will help produce a better view for my neighbors. So that's what I got. Who else would like to share?
Beautiful. I would. Two things came up. The spaces on my calendar, because some things are really easy to put down there, things that have appointments that involve other people. So it's really easy to do that. But recognizing that I get to be more intentional about what I put in the spaces that are just for me, and make sure that I'm putting in things that are the most important and will bring me the best results that are in alignment with who I am and what I want to accomplish in my life. And that's choice. And so the second one was the spaces in my body, because I've been letting go of things that are no longer needed, things from the past, things that I've hung on to that somehow were familiar, that are blocks and that are unnecessary, and a variety of different things I've been letting go of through some therapy I've been doing. And I thought how important it is that I fill in those spaces. This old stuff has been occupying this space in me. And my perspective is even changing, and how I feel is changing, and the weight that I feel, not necessarily in my body, physical weight, but maybe that will change too. But just this weight that I have felt has changed, and how valuable and important it is that I have the agency to choose what I'm going to fill those spaces in with, and how important it is to do that and be intentional about that instead of just letting them fill in.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. I know a lot of times, even in our homes, we might clean out a closet or something, but if we're not intentional about what we fill that space up with, then it seems like clutter just kind of collects, doesn't it? If it's not intentional, if we don't have a deliberate purpose for that space. Mm-hmm. And I love what you're saying about your calendar spaces and how important that is to be intentional about what you put in there, and is that going to serve my purpose? Is that going to serve me? Is it going to help me to reach my goals? Definitely important for us to be intentional about how we fill our spaces. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Who else?
So that the uncluttered spaces is what came to me. I've been able to, because I'm moving. I believe I'm moving at the end of July. I've been unloading or getting rid of things, and that it has created open spaces, and I get to choose what is in each room, what I have surrounding me. The spaces are so open now, and I love what I've created in my home. It feels fresh. It's open. It's opened a space in my mind to create new things. So those things that are surrounding me, in the space around me, if it's cluttered, it's more closed in. And I knew that our space affected our minds as well. And so it's just really beautiful to see how uncluttering my spaces even more, not that they were cluttered. I mean, they just had pieces of furniture that I really didn't need. So I've been able to open spaces and see what's possible to create out of that. It opens new a space to create. And it's funny because I have a little wall plaque that says, it's just on a big wall, but it's this little picture that says create. And I love it because you create happiness, create anything, create clean spaces. I mean, it's open-ended. So, and I also love the windows that create more depth. It creates the space of outdoors in my view. So I'm not just looking at a wall. That space is open in front of me. So I love that as well. And the word space seems to have brought me to new creations, which
awesome.
I'm doing.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. That's really great. I love that idea of space to create, and kind of brought to mind, I know like my dad and grandma lived through the Depression, and there's something about, that generation that went through the Depression. It's like they're afraid, a lot of people are afraid to get rid of things. It's like, well, what if I need that, and then I'm not able to afford it later, because there's that mentality of, I have to hold on to this just in case. And that's definitely a survival technique. It's a survival mentality, which is definitely scarcity. And I think when we can let go of things, like you were saying, letting go of some of the furniture that maybe was superfluous, that you didn't really need, and you've created not only more space in your life by doing that, you've also said to the universe, I'm okay letting go of this, because I know that if I need something later, it's going to be provided. It's just this open, abundant feeling. And you've also provided that other side of the abundance, because maybe you took it to either sold it at a used price, used furniture price, or you took it like to a donation center or something like that, where somebody could buy it at a really low price. So you've given another person an opportunity that maybe couldn't afford to go and buy a brand new, chair, but they could go to this donation center and pay a lower price. And they're super excited to have that piece of furniture in their home now that it was needed. So it's like this cycle of abundance that's created when we create space, when we give away the things that are extra that we don't really need. It creates space for new things to come into our lives, for us to be able to create, and it also provides an opportunity for another person to be able to be the recipient of that thing that you were giving. Any last thoughts before we move to our permission process?
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay,
go ahead, Michael.
Michael.
Okay, my first thought was looking out into space. It's a vast room, a vast place to build in, and to build a place, for our children to live in and to keep your family near. But I also put personal space around me, space that is mine that, I sometimes don't want to share. But it's also space to wander in, space to grow, to step into, to bring about a change. And then I went to my closet too, and I thought space to store things that I think are important, but there's space to organize things or items in. And so mine was just a general thing about space and all the opportunities that it brings us.
Awesome. I love all these different meanings of space, that vast. I mean, if you think about like outer space, it's infinite. So space can be infinite. And then there's the personal space that feels like minute. So it really fits both places. And I love that idea of space to grow that invites change. And also there are spaces that we assign, that intentional putting things in specific spaces creates order in our lives. Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate all those different perspectives. Who else wanted to share?
It was Kathy, but Michael just really summed it up really well, so that was awesome.
Okay, awesome. All right, thanks, Kathy. Let's go ahead and shift over to our permission process. So I invite all of us to just take a deep breath. And as you breathe in, I'm going to invite you to really create more space within your lungs, within the core of your body. Just allow it to expand with that air. Create a lot of space in there, and then just push that air out, letting go of anything within your body that maybe doesn't belong there. Maybe if you're feeling any heaviness or darkness inside of you, as you bring that air in, just lovingly wrap that air around that heavy area inside of your body, heavy or dark area, and then just lovingly lift it up and expel it out with your exhale. Just allow yourself to have a little bit more space inside to create a little more open space. All right, and as we are focusing on this idea of space, creating space, having space, expanding space, whatever, what is the number one limiting belief coming up for you about spaces, space? Number one limiting belief coming up for you about these spaces that we've been talking about. And as you look at that limiting belief, I invite you to examine the cost of it. If you keep that limiting belief, which you're totally at choice to do, if you keep it, though, what is that going to produce in your life? And if you don't like that cost of that limiting belief, if you don't like the result that that limiting belief is going to produce, then you have the choice to change it. And I invite you to give yourself permission to change that belief by saying yes.
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 Right. And then go ahead and choose some new beliefs. What are some new beliefs that will take the place of that old limiting belief and will create a different outcome for you? Give just another minute or so to choose some new beliefs on letting go of the old limiting beliefs about space or spaces. And last question, as you are looking over this list of new beliefs, I invite you to really incorporate those into your body. As you're breathing in, just bring those words into your body and allow them to become part of you. So it's not just like this nice idea that we would like to have, a wish, a dream, but that this is true in your life right now. Just allow yourself to bring those words into yourself and find the truth of them. Find maybe some evidence where this is actually true in your life right now. These new beliefs are actually true right now. Just take a moment and integrate those new beliefs. And as you have become this new person who has integrated these new beliefs, I invite you to be open to what is the one most important thing that you can do today to add more evidence and more proof that these new beliefs are actually true in your life right now. what is the one most important thing that you can do today to implement these new beliefs? This is your inspired shortcut. This would be the shortcut of becoming, of having this be who you are. All right, and we are out of time, so we won't have time to share, but I do invite all of you to go on the Breakthrough with Gratitude page on Facebook and share what you've gotten, especially your new beliefs. We'd love to. I know some of us go there specifically to look and see if there's something that we want to add to our own new beliefs. And if any of you are struggling with this idea of creating space or knowing what to do with the space that you have, or emptying out your space, or whatever it is that you're having struggles with space or spaces, I invite you to reach out to me. Go to AskWilene.com and schedule a 15-minute call with me. This is one of my favorite things that I get to do for people, is to just have them share a little bit about what their struggle is and to provide a different perspective to help them be able to tap in, help you to be able to tap into your divinely inspired messages, and to be able to get clear with what your next steps are, and really understand who you are at the core level, at the soul level, the gifts and the talents that you possess, or the genius that exists within you. So thank you for joining us on our Daily Gratitude Call today. We'll look forward to tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., right here. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening, and I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. We'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, WileneBenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.